Hey, this is AJ for Techsplained, and in this video we're going to be talking about how you can tell what computer spec is best suited for your business and your employees. Are your existing computers suitable? Or maybe you need to consider a new or even an alternate machine. So, let's get started. So, with the recent release of Windows 11, many people and businesses are finding that their computers maybe don't meet the correct requirements. If you're planning to upgrade your business computers to Windows 11 and don't yet know if your machines meet these requirements, please contact any of our consultants and we can happily help you run a health check across all of your business machines. And we can also help you plan your Windows 11 upgrade to minimize downtime. Thankfully, Microsoft also released their own handy document and health check tool, which will allow you to be able to check all of this information for yourself. We'll link those down in the description. However, in short, you'll need a compatible 64-bit processor, which is 1 GHz or faster, and with 2 or more cores, or a compatible system on chip. You'll need at least 4 GB of RAM, and a minimum of 64 GB of device storage. Your system must be UEFI Secure Boot capable, and your graphics card must be compatible with DirectX 12 or later, and with the WDDM 2.0 driver. Your display must be a minimum of 9 inches, with a 720p HD support, and with an 8-bit colour channel. And most importantly, your system must have the Trusted Platform Module 2.0. Even if you meet all of these other requirements, without this last one you will struggle to upgrade. To find out if your computer supports this, you can go to Windows Settings, Update and Security, Windows Security, and then Device Security. And then look for a section titled Security Processor. If you see this, you can click on Security Processor Details to see your specification version. This will tell you if it is 2.0 or earlier. If it meets this requirement, then you may be good to upgrade. However, if it doesn't, then you may need to check for machine-based updates, such as BIOS and other hardware updates. If you don't see a section titled Security Processor, such as in this example, then you may need to enable this in your system's BIOS. But what if your computers don't meet any of these minimum requirements? You may want to plan ahead for the future of your business to ensure that your computers will meet the minimum requirements, not only for the latest operating system, but also for the latest software as they evolve over time with the latest hardware. But what are some of the things that you need to consider when looking at what you require in a computer? Well, the first thing we need to consider is the type of device that you will require. Will you, or the user, be needing to primarily work from a desk or remotely? Or maybe you need the flexibility to be able to do both. Once we've established this, we can decide whether a desktop, or a laptop with the ability to be able to dock will be most suitable. But there are also other considerations that you should take before ordering the cheapest laptop or desktop that you can find. One thing that people often overlook is the type of software that they require, and if the machine that they are buying is suitable for the software that they need. For example, if you're mainly using Office 365 products or other basic software, then you may not require a super powerful computer. For example, Office 365 requires a minimum of 4 GB of RAM and a minimum of between 5 and 10 GB of available storage. But if you're editing photos, videos, publishing, graphics, music, CAD drawings, gaming, and a whole lot more, then you may require a much more powerful computer. Not only this, but the developer of the software could also dictate the computer manufacturer that you may require. If you use softwares from popular providers such as Adobe, Affinity, AutoCAD, Microsoft, and many more, then you'll be able to use both Windows and Apple-based computers, depending on your personal preferences. However, if you intend to use software such as Final Cut Pro for video production, or Logic Pro for audio production, then you will have to look at Apple-based computers, as these softwares are developed specifically for Apple and are not available on Windows. Similarly, many business-specific softwares are not developed to work on Apple computers. However, thankfully with Remote Desktop, software virtualization using software such as Parallels, or Windows virtualization itself using Boot Camp, Apple computers are not restricted to only being able to use one operating system. However, the same cannot be said for Windows, as macOS is not able to be installed on Windows or virtualized. We'll cover this in a little bit more detail later in the video. The other thing that you should always check is the minimum requirements for the software you'll be using. Usually this can be found on the software provider's website, but you should always consider that this is the minimum requirements to open the software for use, and not the optimum configuration for using the software. Some software providers, such as Adobe, will also give recommended or even optimum hardware specifications. So let's take a look at Adobe Photoshop as an example. Photoshop requires a minimum of a 2 GHz dual-core processor from Intel or AMD with 64-bit support. However, they recommend faster processors with more cores for optimum performance. They require a minimum of Windows 10 version 1809 or macOS 10.14 Mojave. However, they recommend more up-to-date versions of both operating systems. It also requires at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. However, they recommend a minimum of 16 gigabytes for optimum performance. It requires a minimum of 2 gigabytes of GPU memory. This could be onboard graphics memory if needed, as opposed to a dedicated graphics card. But they actually recommend 4 gigabytes or more, especially when used with 4K displays. Photoshop alone also requires 4 gigabytes of hard drive space, but it requires more than this as part of the installation process, and also for any optional add-ons. Adobe also recommends that the software is installed on an SSD, for faster installation, opening, and also running of the software. Just remember when considering SSDs, that not all SSDs are created equal, with some operating much faster than others. We did a whole video on hard drive types, which will link down in the description, and also in the title card of this video. Of course, if you can afford a machine which has a higher specification than what Adobe recommends for Photoshop, then you will notice better performance, and the same goes for the majority of other specialized software. With video editing, for example, the more powerful your processor, the higher the RAM and GPU memory, then the faster your frame render times will be. It's also best practice to consult the software maker's website to ensure that the hardware that you're including in your specification is compatible with the software that you'll be using. Autodesk, for example, the company behind AutoCAD, offers a very useful page on their website for you to check if the graphics card which you're using is certified for compatibility with their software. So maybe by now we've settled on the hardware that you may require, but what about the operating system? Well, if you're getting an Apple computer, then it will come with the latest version of macOS. And thankfully macOS only comes in one version with everything that you may need from the operating system, meaning there's no Home, Pro or Enterprise versions. Windows, however, has multiple versions, and depending on your requirements, it will depend on which version you will need. For most home users, for personal use, Windows Home will be more than suitable. However, in a business environment, where users and devices are managed from a central location, then you will need at least Windows Pro, as the home version doesn't actually give you any of the features allowing for devices to be linked to a network to be managed. There are also other versions of Windows available, such as Pro for workstations and Enterprise. However, most businesses and consumers won't require any of the extra features that these offer. If you'd like for us to do a video on all of the different versions of Windows, drop us a message down in the comments below. If we get enough requests, then we'll make sure we do a video on it. But what if you want the best of both worlds? Well, if you're working on a Mac, you can download tools such as Microsoft Remote Desktop to log into another Windows machine on your local or even on a remote network if you have one available. Or you could use tools such as TeamViewer if you're working away from a Windows machine that you already own. We did make a video about using multiple computers, which I'll link down in the description and also in the title card. One thing that we did cover in that video is that on a Mac you can install Windows alongside macOS via Boot Camp on Intel-based Macs. You can start your computer up as either operating system, and you can also install Linux the same way. Do note though, that you cannot currently install Windows via Boot Camp on M1-based Macs. However, on a Mac there are other tools such as Parallels, which allows you to be able to run Windows virtually whilst using macOS. Parallels will even allow you to be able to launch Windows software directly from your Mac dock, and the Windows Start menu can be virtualized within macOS. Unfortunately though, on Windows, the only way to be able to use macOS is if you already own an Apple computer and can connect to it using software such as TeamViewer. So what do we recommend? Well, as we've alluded to, it all depends on what your requirements are. But for general use, we do have a few recommendations to allow you to work productively. We recommend a minimum of a quad-core Intel i5 or AMD Ryzen 5 processor, between 3 and 4 GHz. A minimum of 8 GB of RAM and at least 2 GB of video memory. We also recommend at least a 256 GB SSD boot drive for the operating system and the software that you'll be using, as the SSD will help provide faster startup times and faster software loading times. If you require more space for file storage, then either use a larger boot drive or a companion standard hard drive for that data. As for laptop users, we recommend trying to go for a laptop with at least one USB-C port or a Thunderbolt 3 or higher port, as this will give you the compatibility with many modern docks or adapters for outputting to multiple monitors, as well as providing more USB-A ports or even Ethernet and more. And similarly for desktop users, we recommend at least 2 video outputs. If you want to know more about multiple monitors, look out for a future video we're doing about how multiple monitors can increase your productivity. Of course, these have just been our minimum recommendations, and these may not be suitable for all users. One thing that we do recommend though, is if you have any questions about what computer spec we recommend for your business use, then reach out to one of our helpful consultants. We can provide you with a few quotes for a spec that we recommend to fit your purpose. Hopefully you've found the information in this video useful. If you have, please hit the like button and consider sharing this video with your friends, family and colleagues. Also subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about future videos, such as more of our Techsplained videos and our shorter Tech Bites videos. Until then though, see you soon!